Alright. Hopefully that's good. That's good. Alright. So, good morning or afternoon or whatever school you are in. Because now this can be anyone, because it's on the internet. So, cool. Anyways, Mr. Rochelle asked me to do a video on Tiananmen, and that's a very broad topic. And so it kept me up at night. This is what happens when you're a history teacher. Topics keep you up at night. And I was planning, like, what would I talk about with Tiananmen? And so this is what I came up with. It's the peculiarity of Tiananmen. Alright? Because China has a long history of democracy. Like, it has a long history of those movements. Because in 1911, they get rid of the monarchy. Okay, so we have no monarchy. Now we have a nationalist government. After that, there's lots of war and bloodshed and death and destruction. And then we have the Communist Party that wins. Okay, boom, bam, 1949. Anyways, write down these four dates. 1956, 1978, 1986, 1989. Alright? Boom, done. Here we go. I'm trying to do this quickly because I don't know how much battery life I have. So, 1956, Mao is in power. We have the 100 Flowers Campaign. The 100 Flowers Campaign was when he said, okay, I'm going to let opinions bloom like 100 flowers. He's going to open up his government to dissent. Not really dissent. A lot of historians are like, he was stupid. He didn't know what kind of things were going to be said about him. He was not stupid. Nobody takes over the largest country in the entire world by being an idiot. So he wasn't stupid. What he just wanted was honest things about the government. He just thinks things are going better than they actually are. So when he starts getting serious criticisms about his government by intellectuals, keyword intellectuals, he shuts it down, and they go off to the work camps in the countryside to be re-educated as peasants. Alright? 1978. So, Mao dies in 76. There's a gang of four led by his last wife. Okay? There's a power struggle between a very important person named Deng Xiaoping, who shapes modern China. He's like the most important modern Chinese figure. I named my other computer after him. This computer's name is Xi Jinping, who is probably the most powerful politician since Deng Xiaoping. Anyways, so there's a power struggle, and around 1978, a rogue-like poet posts a poem, like an inflammatory poem, on a wall, and everyone loses it. It's like, oh my god, the doors are open. And so Deng Xiaoping, and it was against Mao. So now Deng Xiaoping is kind of in a culture war against Mao because he is now trying to reform the country and move it away from the old system of Mao. So he likes this. Weakening of Mao's legacy, strengthening his reforms. So he lets this go, and it blooms and blooms and blooms until now people start talking about democracy. That's not good. So he shuts that down. It's over. Because he can't have that in China. So he has to shut that down. And so, again, we have a movement that grows, and then you have to shut it down it behooves the government for a while, and then they have to shut it down. Alright, 1986. So, 1986 is 3 years before 1989, which is the main thing of what we're talking about. So 1986, again, teachers. Did I say it? 78? It's intellectuals. A poet, he's an intellectual. Okay, it's the intelligentsia always. 56, 78, intellectuals. 86, it's a professor, intellectuals. Okay, professor leads a bunch of students. There's a protest. They want democracy. They want more representation. Kind of capitalism. Hu Yaobang is blamed. Okay, he's important. Not in history, but for what we're going to be talking about later. So Hu Yaobang is blamed because he takes the side of them. He defends them. He's kind of their ally. Not like a staunch ally, but he says, okay, I understand what they're saying. We will try to meet your needs. Alright? So he's blamed, he's shunned, I don't think he's put under house arrest. No, that's the next guy. He's shunned, he has to resign from all of his appointments. Okay? So, eventually in 1989, he dies in April. So, this is the big thing. is students and teachers see, okay, this guy stood up for us. He went to bat for us. He lost his job. He lost his prestige. This is a big deal. This is when we're going to make our protest. So, April 17th is his state funeral, and then there's another celebration like April 21st. So it starts around April 17th, 21st, that weekend. And there's just thousands of students in the Tiananmen Square. So, okay, now we have three independent movements, and now we're culminating in Tiananmen. And if you look at the dates, you got like 20 years, you got like 10 years, less than 10 years, and then you got like 3 years. So not only are they independent, they're growing, and they're becoming more frequent. Those are trends. And those are strange trends because now, the last one was in Hong Kong, and that was last year. I was in China. So yeah, it was last year, 2014. So from 1989 until 2014, that's more than 25 years, there was nothing. That's crazy. And Hong Kong was, people were mumbling about Tiananmen, but it wasn't on the scale or severity. So, yeah, that's crazy. So it's getting more and more frequent, it's getting larger and larger and larger, it's culminating in Tiananmen, and now it's just stopped. So, that's the peculiarity of it. Also, Tiananmen, so they make this huge protest. It's like million people, and it's at the same time as the Soviet, I guess he's premier, not president, is coming to China, and that's like the first time in like 30 years, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, I think it's 30 years. Anyways, so there's tons of cameras, international press, it's huge, okay? You can see tons of footage online, you can go watch it. So the eyes of the world are on China, and it just so happens that the students aren't stupid either. They know what's going on. So the reporters just stay there, and so now we have lots of sources during this time. So it's not like it's a secret. And then it's just a huge, it goes on April, May, June. And then, the night of June 3rd, morning of June 4th, we have the massacre. Suppression, whatever you want to call it. Depending on if you're Chinese. Well, if you're Chinese, you don't even know this occurred. I have yet to ask anyone because, I'm not going to ask. Maybe on like my last day, if I'm for sure not coming back, I'd ask. But, yeah. Younger kids, you never know if they know. But, what was I going to say? So, they try once, they're pushed back by the city that want to protect their kids. And then they mount up, they got tanks, they got APCs, they got automatic rifles with live ammo, they have 60,000 troops. Yeah, which is around the equivalent of how many Allied forces landed on Normandy. Kind of a lot. Yeah. So, anyways, it's brutally suppressed. We don't know how many people died. Chinese government says, like, none. I don't know. I don't know what their official thing is, but more than 1,000, less than 5, maybe? Anyways, point of the story is, it ends. Democracy ends in China. Talk of democracy ends. Protests about democracy end. Even the need or wish for democracy ends. It's just gone. It's gone. If you talk to Chinese people now, that never comes up. Ever. They're living in a kind of a police state, not totalitarian, an oligarchical government led by one party, really by one person sometimes, and they don't really care. They have access to the internet. They're not like North Korea. They're informed. They know what's going on in the world. They don't care. Because at the same time, at the beginning, Deng Xiaoping really runs on... He doesn't run. It's not elected. his legacy is modernizing China, reforming China, opening China to the West. That's why he's created modern China. The China I'm living in right now, he has created. This is Deng Xiaoping's vision, realized. Okay? So, what happens is the need for democracy goes down, it's gone, and because we've created a Chinese middle class. It's so strange. Never really in history, in human history, has there been a revolution that just kind of ends and never comes back, and it's just gone. It's so crazy because he created a middle class. And so, Lenin says the opiate of the masses is religion. Really, in China, the opiate of the masses is just a living wage. It's crazy. They don't care. As long as they have progress, as long as they're making more money, they're fine. And that's what Deng Xiaoping figured out. It's like, oh, okay. If I give them money, they don't care. They don't want democracy. They just want money. And when you look at, the Ukrainian protests, I can't remember what it was. They're both on Netflix. It's the Square for Egypt, the Tahrir Square from 2011 and 2013. And then you have the Independence Square movement in Ukraine from 2014, and that's the Square is the name of the Egypt one, and then it's like Winter of Fire, On Fire, is the documentary on Netflix about Ukraine. They're amazing. Watch them. But those are two successful movements. And then Hong Kong was successful. I mean, if you go through history, the revolutions, once the spark lights, you're going down the road. But with Tiananmen, spark lights, there's 1 million people at the square for like the later half of the movement, and it just kind of ends. It's suppressed, it's put down, a middle class is built, and now it's never talked about again. It's crazy. So that's why Tiananmen is so important. Tiananmen is the turning point in modern Chinese history. They go from a democracy-seeking society. I mean, the movements are getting larger, they're getting more frequent, they're there. And then it goes from that to really, it's just communist capitalism. Socialist capitalism, anyways. But, I mean, they get economic freedom, but they have less political freedom. They don't care about political freedom as long as they have economic freedom. As long as they can make money, they don't care about politics. That's the deal they made with the devil. And little tidbits before I go, because I'm pretty much done. Yeah, I took notes. Take notes. It's good. Some school reforms. Like I said, all these movements are led by students, intelligentsia, teachers. In all my classes, there is one monitor who is, like a helper. They're in charge of attendance and all that stuff and helping me out if I have to pass out papers. Like your hall monitor or whatever, class monitor. And then there's another secret monitor. He's not secret, but I don't know who it is. They don't, tell me who they are. There's a party monitor. They report directly to the party leader, who is the number 2 official in every single school, every single university. So make sure that every single class is towing the party line. That's crazy. That's all after Tiananmen Square. So this can never happen again. And if you look at pictures of Tiananmen Square before and after, now there's railings, there's roads, there's choke points into the square. It's crazy. So the government has acknowledged this. It will never happen again. Hong Kong is a kind of an exception. Yeah. As my friend Dan would say, the exception that proves the rule. Anyways, but yeah, it's Tiananmen has not happened. 1 million students and teachers have not gotten together. They've not organized. And if you look at Independence Square and Tahrir Square in Egypt and Ukraine and Tiananmen, there's organization, there's jobs, there's a stratification of labor. They create their own society inside. It's kind of like the opposite of Occupy Wall Street. That's why Occupy Wall Street didn't really work, because you have to have a goal. You have to have organization, you have to have leadership, and they had all of these things. And so when you look at Tiananmen, you look at Ukraine, you look at Egypt, they're all so similar. And then one does not match, and that's Tiananmen. And it's so strange. It makes no sense. And it's really an anomaly in history. I mean, if you can think of a time where we've just gotten so close to revolution and then just kind of backed off, please tell me, because I can't think of anything. That's crazy. I can't think of it. I mean, this is like the Boston Tea Party. It's the Boston massacre. It's the Boston Massacre. You know, these are the sparks. From after this, then it's an avalanche. No avalanche. There was an explosion. Everything just stopped. Crazy. So that's why Tiananmen is so important, especially when we're talking about China, which is so important in the modern world. China is the one country that we should all be learning about in school. So, if your teachers aren't teaching you enough about China, make sure they are, because they're very important. All right. Any questions? Ask your teachers. See you later. 再见.